Hey, Dan Passarelli here. How are you feeling today? I hope you're feeling great. I'm feeling great. So, there's that. Hey, I want to make sure you can hear me. Hit that box, will you? And let me know that you can hear me, please. Hit that Q&A box. Oh, look at this. We got some of the usual suspects here. And the supervisor. All right, the supervisor. Alex, what's up, man? Justin, what is up? Larry, not contrary is all good here. All right. Tomas, yeah, man. Mike, Suzanne, Alejandre, Juan, hello. Jen, all right. Kaylin, hello. Dirk, what's up, Dirk? How are you, my friend? And David. Oh man, we got the whole gang here. And Michael. I almost forgot about Michael. Oh my goodness. Better late than never, though. Today we're going to be talking about planning your exits for option traders. Before we get started, I need to point out options are not for everyone. Read characteristics and risks of standardized options before trading. Get a copy of that by emailing investor services at theocc.com. Don't trade with money you're not prepared to lose. And everything we're doing here today is providing generalized information, not specific to your situation, because I don't know your situation, man. I wish I did. I wish I got to know you better, but I don't know your situation. So, that being said, use some common sense, and by golly, you're going to learn some great stuff here today. Now, I see we've got a lot of old friends here, but I saw a couple of new names too. And so, for those of you who don't know who the heck I am, allow myself to introduce myself. My name is Dan Passarelli, and I am an author of two of the most popular option trading books. I write a great deal on Substack and on, and I've got my podcast, Wealth Building with Options. I create daily videos. Oh my gosh. I do a lot of stuff. I just do a lot of stuff. And one of those things is being a trader. I trade every single day. And I have for a long time. Traded down the floor of the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Now I trade in a retail trading account, just like you. And I am the founder of Market Taker Mentoring, which is the global leader in option trader education for the past 17 years. We have students, traders in over 50 countries. Do you believe that? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And I am a trading industry collaborator. I work with, oh boy, I work with everybody, including and especially really good options friendly brokerage firms like Firstrade, as well as most of the exchanges, options exchanges in the world. Been to the Hong Kong exchange, talking to some folks there, Shenzhen. Had some talks down in Columbia exchange, SIBO, New York Stock Exchange, Philadelphia Stock Exchange, the P Coast, BATS, Amex. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I forget. ICE, I forget. Board of Trade, CME Group. Oh my gosh. And I am a family man. Those of you who are market taker students, which I know some of you are, Larry, for example, yeah, know my wife Kathleen, who runs operations here for Market Taker. Busy lady. And I have my two adult children who just moved out of the house for like the third time for each of them. I think this one will stick though. Not that I'm trying to get rid of them. I like having them around. I'd like them to live with us forever if that wasn't weird and unhealthy. But it is. So I'm glad they are enjoying their adult lives. And I do other things for fun. Ah, thanks, Larry. I'll tell Kathleen you said that. Um, and I do other things for fun besides trading because, man, I have fun trading. But I run and I walk and I am kind of a bit of a foodie. I like cooking and eating. Yummy, yummy, yummy. When we go on trips, because I'm a traveler, that's basically what we do is we eat our way through cities across the world. And I'm a music person. I have a musical family here. So that's me. But enough about me. Let's talk about the important person here. That is you. Um, I want you to get everything out of this as possible. I do these classes on behalf of Firstrade for one reason and one single reason alone. And that is your interests and Firstrade's interests, and even my interests, they're all aligned. You know what the common thread is? We all want you to be the best trader that you can be. Yeah, Firstrade actually wants that, right? Of course they do, obviously. And I know you do, and I know I do. So, in addition to all the things we are going to talk about today, I want to give you some other free complimentary classes. If you go to markettaker.com, market as in stock market, taker as in take what is rightfully yours, two T's in a row. And you just go up here to the top right under join free. You've got a lot of free resources. Great, great, great for novice traders, but even great, great, great for experienced traders. Now, let's talk about something. Those of you who have attended my Firstrade workshops in the past, you know by now the MTM trading path. This is my framework for making any option trade successfully. You follow all these steps, and you know, each trader is going to follow them your own way. And each type of trade you're making, whether it's a straddle or a credit spread or short squeeze or whatever, you know, you're going to follow it a specific way. But you hit each of these steps every single time and you're in good shape. Now, on the whole left-hand side here, that's what most people talk about. Hey, give me a good stock tip. Hey, I'm going to teach you how to set up a great blah, blah, blah trade. Let's look at how to find trades. Let's look at how to analyze these trades. All that is fine and good. It's important stuff, really important stuff. How you get into a trade and analyze that determines your probability of success, your payout structure, all super important stuff. But you know what? Getting out of the trade, the exits, that is what determines whether or not you make money. This is the stuff that most people don't talk about. But this is the most important part of the trade. So we're going to talk about planning your exits and actually exiting, and all this other stuff kind of comes into play too. So planning is the key to exits. Even a bad plan is better than no plan. That is a quote that I have been attributed, that is attributed to me. I don't know how these quotes get attributed to me, but you know, people say this is what I said because I do say it. I say it all the time. Even a bad plan is better than no plan. And you better believe that because if you're just making your decisions emotionally, it ain't going to work out. It's just not. If you have a structure, you can always. I went for a walk today. Me and Kathleen took our little runt dogs out for a walk. If you say it more than 3 times, it's yours. Okay, then that's really mine because I've said it a lot. I've said it probably 3,000 times. Um, so yeah, Kathleen and I went for a walk this morning. Took our little runt dogs for walks. One's like 5 pounds and one's like 6.5 pounds. And as we were walking, we walked by like I don't know, a workout studio. I don't know what you want to call it. There's a nice little trail by our house. Um, Really nice. It's paved, tree lined. It's beautiful. And when we walked by the workout studio place, they had a sign on there, and there's a little tagline on there, and it said, "Change happens by movement." It's true, right? It's true for exercising, physically building some muscles or stamina or heart health or whatever. But it's true for anything in life too. If you're, and I don't have to tell you that, you're here. You made the choice to be here. You're putting in your time, you're putting in your effort. You moved in the direction to make a change. There's other folks who like open up trading accounts and they are losing money, but they don't want to attend a class. Oh, I don't have time for that. I don't want to sign up for anything. It's just too much effort. Ain't nothing going to change. Unless you put in that effort, nothing's going to change. But even a bad plan is better than no plan because you're putting forward that effort and you can figure out what's not going right. Maybe you don't figure out in time to save this trade, but if you got that plan and the plan didn't work, you're going to wonder why. And eventually you're going to figure out why and you're going to have a better plan. Next thing, we want to plan our exit at the same time you're setting up a trade. Now, that seems kind of weird, doesn't it? Plan your exit at the same time you're setting up your trade. Well, it's not weird at all, right? They call like options or stocks or futures or bonds or swaps or whatever. They call them vehicles. And man, sometimes stuff in trading is called stuff, and I'm just like, that is the dumbest name ever for that trade. Like implied volatility. Terrible name. If I were king, I would have called that something different than implied volatility. But vehicle, that's an excellent name for options or stocks or bonds or futures or swaps because they take you from one place to the next place. They help you achieve a goal. And just like the vehicle that is your car, your automobile, if you don't get in your car and start driving and be like, "Huh, wonder where I'm going. I hope it's somewhere good." If you do that, you're not going to end up somewhere good. You're just going to waste a lot of gas and drive around like a lunatic. We always know where we want to go when we get in our car. And with the other type of vehicle, financial instrument, we need to know where we want to go. We need to have a plan. Otherwise, there's no sense in getting behind the wheel of that trade. That is the life cycle of the trade. Hey, I'm going to buy this. My plan is I want to buy it here and sell it here. Although if it doesn't go right, I'll take a loss here. So I keep it small. Okay, now I got a plan. We plan that exit at the same time we're setting up the trade. Right? Now, one way we can exit, let's talk about some tactics here. One way we can exit is to scale out. Because look, how many times have you ever bought a stock or a call or whatever it is, and you exit it right at the exact very top? How many times? I mean, if you've traded for a decade, that might have happened 2 or 3 times. If you traded for like 3 years, maybe it happened once. I would say that happens 1 out of 1,000 trades, maybe. We never know exactly when the perfect time to get out is. And, to that point, it doesn't matter, really, does it? That's not really our goal. And it's not our goal because it's impossible. It's a fool's errand. So we've always got uncertainty when the perfect time to exit is. So one way to deal with that is to scale out. What we do is, and this works, I mean, this actually works for any type of trade. I've got this in the context of like you bought a stock or you bought a call or you bought a put or a debit spread. Sell half or a third for a profit at a conservative profit. Just take a nice little, I just did that today. I was trying to sell something at like 25 cents and I sold it at 10 cents. Obviously, there's just like a little penny thing. But I was trying to sell 25 at 25 cents. I sold 5 at 10 cents. Let's just get the ball rolling here. Right? And then we can sell the next tranche, whether that's a half or another third or whatever, at a better price. And sometimes what happens is it turns around and you're not able to sell that next tranche at a better price. You end up scratching it. But if you didn't take that conservative profit first, you wouldn't even have a profit. So this is a way to kind of like spread out your risk or whatever. Because there's a risk on your exit, right? This is a way to smooth that out. Now, another technique that I like to use is what can be called the house money play. But that's kind of a bad name too, but let's talk about it. So the house money play. Let's say I buy 10 100 strike calls at $6. And it doesn't really matter what the strike is, but buy 10 calls at $6. So that's $600 I invested. Now let's say the stock goes up. Now my calls are 12 bid. I can sell them at 12. 100% profit. Well, it's 100% profit, but what if I just sold half of it, sell 5 at 12, took in $600, and now whatever I sell the rest of the calls for is gravy. It's profit. It's free money. This is kind of like you go to the casino. Who goes to casinos? Anybody go to casinos here? Who likes to go to casinos? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, especially if you're smart about it. Nobody? Okay. Who hates casinos? Who hates casinos? There's nothing wrong with that either. Who doesn't really even care? Who turned the sound off on their computer and you're watching Sally Jessica Parker or whatever? Is she still on TV? You take your grandma and just watch her? That is totally awesome, Alex. Tomas hates casinos. That's that. I respect that. Kaylin, occasionally. Okay, that's good. You're at a casino now, says Michael. Baron says, I go to a casino every day. It's called the market. I like that. I like that. Yeah, depends. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so fair point, fair point. Well, okay. At least you know how like casino games work. Like let's say you sit down at a blackjack table, right? And maybe you're on vacation, who is that who said occasionally? Tomas, I think, right? Sit down at the blackjack table, you take out your 300 bucks, and holy cow, wouldn't you know it, you just got pretty lucky, and now you got 600 bucks in front of you. Well, you ever just take 300 of that? The 300 you started with, put in your pocket, and now you're playing with the house's money? Well, that's what I'm talking about. But I want to clear something up here, though. This is a good technique, but it's a terrible name because, and it's the same with casinos too, whether it's a casino or trading, that money is not the house's money anymore. That money is your money. It's not like you could literally go and cash it in at the cage at the casino, or you can cash it in by selling those calls and take the full profit total of 600 bucks. Here you're kind of technically locking in a $300 profit. It's not the house's money, it is your money. So what you don't want to do is just like do this and then not care what happens. You want to make sure you keep as much as that of that your money as possible. It's in your account. Your account value is higher. It's your money. So with the rest of it, you could use something like a trailing stop or just a manual trailing stop where you put in a profit taking stop order. So not a stop loss. It functions the same. It's still a stop, but a profit taking stop order. And then if it goes higher, you just move the stop up. Even if that's mental, you can do that. But you don't want to lose that house's money because it's not the house's money. All right. How about adjusting? This is kind of a funny word, too. If I were king, would I keep the word adjusting? I don't know. Maybe I would. I'm not really sure, to tell you the truth. But adjusting is when you have a trade on and you change the trade that you have on to match a new outlook. And usually the rationale for that is, aw, crap, the trade went against me. I have a loss, and by golly, I want to recoup that loss. A lot of times that's it. I would say a good 2/3 of the time, my adjustments are to recoup. I'm going to say a loss because with covered calls and cash geared puts, it's a little different than a loss. I know there's a lot of you who read my Substack posts and are paid subscribers. Thank you very much for that, by the way. Those of you who are, I chronicle all my trades, my covered call and cash geared put trades on my Substack so that you can see kind of how they work. and what my thought process is. And a lot of them are for when, I have to negative scalp a covered call or cash cured put. I mean, usually that doesn't happen, but of the ones where that does happen, I do have to do an adjustment. About 2/3 of them are negative scalping a covered call or cash cured put to put myself in a position where I end up making money on it. But then some of them are to gain more profit, some of them to improve my odds of success. But they're all adjusting. And I guess they call it adjusting because, like anything else, like you're sitting in your chair and, oh, my left butt cheek is getting numb. I got to adjust how I sit. Oh, well, that's better, right? That's kind of what it is with trading. You got the trade on, and maybe the left butt cheek of your trade is getting numb. You got to adjust it, make it a little better, a little more comfortable for yourself, right? So one of the ways we can adjust is to roll into a debit spread. So this is kind of a fun one. Let's say we have a long call and maybe it went our way. A lot of times I like to do it when it goes my way. Sometimes I'll do it when it goes against me. And I roll it into a debit spread by selling a higher strike call at some point in the future from when I bought the original call. What I like to do with these is to use it to leg the debit spread at a more favorable price than was initially possible. Like maybe I really want a debit spread, but maybe I can't sell the spread at a good, well, let me rephrase that. Maybe I can buy the option where I want to buy it, but the option I'm going to sell, maybe I just can't sell for enough price. So I'll sell it more later. This is an opportunistic trade adjustment. So here, let's say I buy the 50 calls at $2. Now, what I really want, I don't, let's say in this example, I don't think the stock is going above 55. So in those situations, I perform much better and have lower risk if I do a debit spread instead of just buying the call. So I'd want to sell the 55 calls. Well, let's say they were too cheap. They're only like 30 cents bid. Well, if I buy those calls and now the stock has gone up, 50 calls are now in the money. Stock's at 54, so they're in the money by $4. The 50 call will be worth at least 4. I mean, one thing I could do is I could just sell those calls at 4 and be done with it, or I could try and do a little better. If the 55 call is now a higher price, which it would be, maybe it's 2 bid, I could just sell the 55 call now at $2 to complete the 50-55 call debit spread. So originally I could only sell it at 30 cents, but now with the stock higher, I could sell it at 2. That's pretty beneficial. So the new trade, because I bought the 50 call originally at 2, and now I'm selling a higher strike call at also 2, I basically would own the debit spread, not for a debit, but for free. So now my max potential loss is 0. That's like, and my max potential gain is $5. That's like somebody, I don't know, like let's say you're an opportunistic person in kind of a little bit of a negative sense in this case. Being an opportunistic person as a trader is never negative. But let's say a friend of yours says, "Man, I want to get rid of this guitar. You want this old guitar I have?" and you say, you think to yourself, well, I don't really play guitar. How much is it worth? Yeah, about $1,000. Sure, I'll take it. And then you list it on eBay and you get $1,000. You got it for free and you just sell it for whatever it's worth. Like that's pretty good. But here, you're holding on to the trade because you think it could go up a little bit more. And instead of just making a $2 profit on your call, wait, $2 profit? Yeah. Bought it at 2 and you could sell it at 4. You know that if you hold it a little bit longer and maybe if it goes up another buck or so, the spread can be worth $5. You can make like 150% more. So you're not doing this again to play with the house's money. You're doing this to take all your risk at off the table and then take all your risk off the table and still make more. Very opportunistic. So this serves a special purpose. You can't always do this, but you can do it sometimes. And when you can do it, it can be wonderful. But the reason why you can't always do this is because sometimes the stock doesn't go up enough to be able to sell that call at a higher price. You might still make money on the original call. And so the cardinal rule of this is you got to like the first trade that you put on, buying the 50 call, all on its own right. You can't rely on the market rising. You got to have a plan for if it doesn't, so that you take your loss and keep it small. Like here, let's look at a trade here. What can we look at? Let's look at I don't know if this will work out, but let's just look at it. AEO, American Eagle Outfitters, with the controversial, oh, so controversial ads, which has been beneficial for the stock price. So as a trader, I don't really care. So we got, wow, look at this, man. Talk about having created a wedge here. Oh my goodness. Looking for breakout city here, aren't we? Let's say we look at this and we say, well, I think it's going to go up. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a horse in the race here. What I would do if I were actually trading this is because you could like trend line here and that, okay. And then, yeah, another trend line. Oops. And then another trend line here. What we'd be looking for is for it to break one of these trend lines. And if it does, whichever direction it breaks out would be the direction we would go. So let's say it breaks out to the upside. Okay. If it breaks out to the upside, where's it really going? I mean, we've got some pretty strong resistance here at 1330. Probably around that to 1350. I would probably do a debit call spread if we broke out here. Buy like the 12.5 strike, sell the 13.5 strike. But, whoops. But we also have to look at the options. We'd probably be talking about like a 2-week period here. So either the 22nd or 29th. If I, for the 10-day expiration, which probably would be about the time horizon, I could buy the 12 and a half calls for 60 cents. And I could sell the 13 and a half calls for 25 cents. It's actually not terrible, but I'd like to be able to sell. Well, okay. Let's make it a little bit. Let's say we thought it was going to go up $2. I mean, that would be a pretty big move for it. But if I thought it was going to go up $2, I could buy the 12 and a half for 60 cents. I could sell the 14 and a half for a dime. Now, if it's going to go up $2, I mean, that's like 18% already. Why would I mean, I'd be looking for a big move already. Why would I want to limit my profit potential just to get a dime? What I would probably do is I would buy these 12 and a half calls. And then if I get that move in pretty short order, it's only a 10 days to expiration. So if I got that move like, over the next couple of days, maybe it goes up $1 and I can sell these 14 and a half calls for like 30 cents. Holy cow. Now I've got a decent trade because I'd own that spread that could be worth $2 for 30 cents only, 60 minus 30. Right now it's 50 cents, 60 minus 10, and I just don't feel like it's worth it to sell those for 10 cents. But if I could do it in such a way where I take in a bigger premium on the short option, that starts to make sense. Does that make sense, everyone? Does that make sense? Give me a hit the yes button. Just kidding. There is no yes button. Hit the Q&A box. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Alex says yes. Justin says yes. Baron says yes. Larry says yes. David says yes. Good. Joe says yes. Kaylin in the middle. Okay. All right. Mir says yes. Fawn says no. All right. Well, I figured there's going to be a couple people who weren't quite super on board yet. So I'm going to continue this explanation in sort of like a fractally sort of way. You guys know what fractals are? It's like when something in nature repeats itself, but just on a bigger, smaller scale, like a tree. It has a fractal nature to it, right? You got a trunk that has these branches, and some branches are just like totally straight and just zip right out. And some are like crinkly, like an oak tree. But then that branch has other branches coming from it, smaller branches. And if that branch was straight, the other branches are straight. But if those branches were curly, then the next ones are kind of curly and kinky. As it goes smaller or bigger, the pattern, the nature of it repeats itself. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. Yeah, Kaylin, just keep hearing it. Awesome. Excellent. Great, 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 great. Yeah, markets, acts, and fractals timeframes. Yeah, nice, Alex. I like that. So managing trades can be kind of fractal too. So let's talk about rolling into a butterfly. So here the play is I don't have a call. I'm starting out with a call debit spread, and I'm going to roll it into a butterfly. Crazy, man. But it's really just kind of the same thing, but just a bigger. We're going from a branch to a trunk here. We're going to use this to leg a butterfly at a more favorable price than initially possible. And this is an opportunistic trade, just like legging into the debit spread. Fine, you're welcome. Okay, so let's say we got a stock at 61 bucks. And here we're able to trade the debit spread for a price we like. We buy the 60-65 call debit spread for $1.50. Okay. But like really, we don't think it's going to go super high. We don't think it's going to go up through like 70 or something. We really think it'll probably get to about 65 because there's a lot of resistance at 65 and probably get there by expiration and have a great trade. But boy, if we could do a butterfly, we could probably make even more, right? But maybe we can't really sell this 65 70 call spread for enough right now. But if the stock rises up to about 65, now we're like, oh, this is great. I just made a bunch of money on my debit spread. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it in such a way where I can make even more and get my risk off the table. So I'm going to sell the 65-70 call credit spread now at $1.50. Maybe when we first put the trade on, we could only sell it at like 20 cents or something. Not really beneficial. But selling it at $1.50 now is beneficial. So we got something that kind of looks like this. We're long a butterfly at 0. And there's a song, butterflies are free to fly. Is that a real song or am I just making that up? Is that like my trader brain? I don't know. It seems like that's a real song. Hold on a second. Let's ask the Google machine. Who sang? It's Elton John, right? Sting. What? It's Elton John. But Sting and Sheryl Crow is it the same song? They cover it or is that a different song? Do you know that like songs and even movies and I think books they can have the same titles as other ones. Like there's a few songs, Wish You Were Here, that have that same title. It's like Ryan Adams. There's Pink Floyd, and then there's another one. They're all popular songs. They all have the exact same names. So I don't know. Maybe it's the same song. Maybe it's not. Um, oh yeah, Someone Saved My Life Tonight. Yeah, that's a lyric in there. That's right. So it's not really the same title. Anyway, totally digress there. But you got to know these things. You just got to know. In this case, the butterfly is free. Yeah, I know. I know. In this case, thanks, Caitlin. In this case, the butterfly is free. Now, why is that a big deal besides, the whole song tie-in? Because the most you can lose on a butterfly, not iron butterfly, but regular butterfly, the most you can lose is what you pay for it. So now I have put myself in a situation, partially because of good fortune, where I have a trade on that can be worth $5 that I paid 0 for. So I'm in a pretty good situation now. Can't lose. Right? At this point. Now, to be fair, we're going back to our house money discussion. I can't lose based on my money put in thus far. I can lose the profit that I have thus far. So I don't want to fart around with it too much. I do this sometimes. Tactical consideration serves a very special purpose, can't always execute. And cardinal rule is I've got to like that debit spread first. Now, rolling into the butterfly, it's good. It helps. I prefer the condor version of this. And this is just sort of a different branch coming out of the same trunk. It's its own branch, but it's still got that fractal relationship. Here we're adjusting from a debit spread to a condor instead of a butterfly, which we use to leg the condor at a more favorable price than initially possible, and it's an opportunistic adjustment. So same thing here. Stocks at 61, moderately bullish trader. I buy the June 60-65 call spread, and I do that because I think we're going probably a little above 65, but not so much more above it. So, and I probably would have liked to try a directional condor, which that's its own sort of niche trade, but I probably couldn't sell the 70-75 spread for enough at this point. Maybe I could sell it for a dime. So let's say within a few days, the stock rises and it rises up to 67 and is showing signs of slowing down. There's some strong resistance at 67 that it seems to be bouncing off of. And I think to myself, oh, goody. I could take a profit right here and go and blow it on something frivolous, like a new guitar. Or I could try and do a little better and maybe buy an amplifier with it too. So instead of just taking the profit here, what I might do is take in a whole nother $1.50. I paid $1.50, collected $1.50. I'm playing with that house's money. Potential loss, 0. Potential gain, $5. Now, notably here, there's a couple important things. Thing one is you're never going to sell this right at $1.50. If you sell it at $1.20, that's still fine. If you sell it at $1.70, that's even better. So as long as we're close, the concept is what's important here, not the exact tactic. And this does serve some special purposes. We only want to do this if we get to that point where, like, maybe we broke through resistance at 65 and there's more resistance at 67, but strong resistance at 70. We don't think it'll keep going. So I could just keep the trade on. If it falls back down below 60, I could end up with a losing trade. Because this, my maximum profit on just the first spread, is $5 also. All I'm really doing, if I can sell it at exactly $1.50, is getting rid of all my risk. Well, don't get me wrong. I can lose the profit that I already have, whatever the profit is on the debit call spread at this point. but I can't fall back below zero. So it's not the house money, it's your money. You already have a profit that could disappear, but you have a stop. It's basically like a stop loss because you can't really use stop losses on spreads. Some people say you can, but they don't know what they're talking about. You can't use stop losses on spreads. You can use them. I mean, if you buy a call or buy a put, you better use a stop loss, but not on a spread. So this is kind of like a stop loss that you can use on a spread. Hey, now I can't fall back into losing territory. I'm stopped out at a break even on the trade overall. And that $5 gain, as long as we stay between 65 and 70, I'm going to make that $5. So there's a couple of differences here between the butterfly and the condor. First of all, you probably actually can't do the condor for zero. You would probably have to be really close to 70. And then do you really want to do the condor? Maybe. But the condor is a far superior version of this because it gives you much more wiggle room. If you can pull it off, it's wonderful. But you know, the butterfly to reach that $5 profit, it's got to be exactly at that short strike, exactly at expiration. You know, you don't want that scenario. With the condor, it just got to be between these two strikes. You've got a whole big swath of stock prices that it can be in and result in a maximum profit. So we use the butterfly when the stock's near the short strike of the initial debit spread. Use the condor when it moves past the short strike. Has anyone ever done this sort of thing? This is not something I do a lot, but it is something I do occasionally. Truth be told, more often than not, I'm just taking the profit on the debit spread. But there are some times when this strategically is the best trade. Now, the next thing is, when do I make the decision to do this? I'm talking about it as if I'm going to decide later, but I'm not going to decide later. I'm going to decide now. As soon as I put on the debit spread, I'm going to know, is my plan to just close it? Or is my plan to roll into a butterfly? Or is my plan to roll into a condor? Or is it a decision tree? If this happens, I'll just close it. If this happens, I'll roll into a butterfly. But if this happens, I'll roll into a condor. And if it goes against me, I'll take my loss at this point. now we're talking about something powerful. Now we're talking about being very, very strategic. And, you know, there are other things for exits too. You know, I mentioned trailing stops, and, you know, you can do trailing stops manually. A trailing stop manually is like, you know, maybe I buy here. Let's look at a different stock. Let's look at like, maybe I think Apple's going to go up. So I buy the 232.5 calls at 460. And let's say it goes up $5 and now it's worth, you know, 750. Well, I can put in a stop order to sell it maybe 720. What's the advantage there? It goes up, I still make money. If it goes down, I only lose about another 20 cents or so. Maybe not exactly 20 cents because if the stop trigger is 720, the bid might be 710, so I'd sell it at 710. But and then if it goes higher, let's say it goes up to 8, I can move up that stop to like 780 or something. See? I just do that right here. This would be selling the call, though. It would be sell to close, presuming I have it on already. And then I don't like to use stop limits. A stop limit is when I say, okay, if it trades at or is offered at 720, sell it at 720. But a stop is if it trades at or is offered at 720, sell it at the market. So I probably don't want to do these if the bid ask spreads are very, very wide. But if they're tight like an apple, I love using stops like this on single leg option trades. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. Do we have any final questions, friends, before we call it a day? Oh, there's one. Alex, simple question, yet an issue for me. Is it better to enter at the break of a trend line or once the candle closes after a break on a pullback? Well, okay. For me, that's a great question. Got AEO real time. Oh no, not AEO, on Apple. Real time chart. Like to me, okay, this is resistance right here. See this at 215? It's not anymore, but 4 days ago it was, or 3 days ago, or whatever it was. Some people will use diagonal trend lines, Alex, for support or resistance, and you can, but those are not as reliable as straight horizontal trend lines. Why? Because it's clear that in the past, anytime Apple got up to 215, that's where the sell orders were. How do I know that's where the sell orders were? Because the buyers couldn't take out the sell orders. There's too many of them. How do I know that? Because the stock went down. It would have went up if the buyers could take out the sell orders. But if it's diagonally trending, like what's the rationale there? That's just sort of like lines bouncing off lines. It means a lot less. But still people use them, so bare minimum becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. But like here, like I would, if I were relying on resistance, and if I'm not answering your question properly, let me know. Like if I were relying on resistance here, I wouldn't rely on it on this day because it could bust through. Wouldn't rely on it this day because it could bust through, or this day, or this day. But this day, where it kind of starts heading lower, I'd feel a lot more comfortable selling some calls at the 215 strike. But here, when it's just touching 215, it's too close. I want to see a little bit of that pullback. Was that the spirit of your question, Alex? Awesome. All right, friends. Well, next week, what are we talking about next week? We're talking about, oh my gosh, we are talking about something super important, the stock repair strategy, how to recoup losses on losing stocks. So until then, friends, I'll catch you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Trade smart. Bye.